Welcome to Field Talk, a Monitor Farm Scotland podcast. Join our host, Wallace Curry, as he explores the stories from Monitor Farm networks on how farmers have adapted their businesses with support from specialists and experts to assess farm performance and explore opportunities. Monitor Farm Scotland is farmer-led, farmer-driven, encouraging discussion and solution-based thinking.
Welcome back, everyone, to Field Talk, the Monitor Farm Scotland podcast. First off, I hope you've had a good Christmas and New Year. I can't tell you if I have, because I must say we're not filming this on the 8th of January. We're filming this just before Christmas, so quite looking forward to the period, but I hope at the time of listening you've had a good festive period. The last episode we had just before Christmas was Robert Wilson of the Roxburgh Monitor Farm. And the theme of that episode is sort of looking at finding the sweet spot in farming. Now that could be taken as many a way, but he's sort of looking at the sort of mix of sustainability and productivity, getting the most out of the land, and also getting the most out of the farm. Quite a cool topic, sort of that moving point of where that sweet spot is, was quite interesting. The next episode is very much tied into this episode. You could almost sort of say it's like a second part. Today we're going to go over the Monitor Farm, the Dumfries Monitor Farm with Richard, who I'll introduce you to in a minute. And the next episode, which will be the one after this, is with Ali and Katie, who are sort of on the vet and lab side of what we're going to be talking about on the Dumfries Farm. So they sort of tie in quite well. I have already filmed that episode with Ali and Katie, and it's a great one. So you've got a really cool one coming next week. But today we're with the Dumfries Monitor Farmer, as I said, Richard McCornick from Barnbackle Farm. Our theme today is going to be looking at planning for success, which is always a sort of good way to look at it, starting out thinking before things start happening. And as I said, that's with Richard. So Richard, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing? You well?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Just getting into the winter routine now, so we are. So, no, enjoying it.
No, good. The temperatures are certainly finding their way down lower at the minute, that's for sure.
Yeah, around, so it's much needed, so it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard, just for those listening, could we just hear sort of a wee bit about the farm? Just tell us how the farm sort of looks, what you've got there, and who's involved.
Yep. So we're here at Barnbackle Farm, Lochfoot, at Dumfriesshire. We're a 500-acre beef and sheep unit, family run. It's an owned unit, so it is. We'll get in more detail about the structure of that with the family. We just recently split the business up between another unit in here. We're running 780 ewes at the minute and 150 suckler cows. And I've got a small herd of 30 pedigree Charlie cattle as well. It's a bit of it started off as a hobby, but it's becoming quite a substantial part of the business now, so it is as well. We are a grass-based system here. We can grow grass, so we're trying to optimise what we're growing ourselves and utilise it as well as we can. So that's some of the focus we're going to have on in the Monitor Farm, which we've done quite a lot of up to now. Lambs are all sold off the ewes fat through the local market. We sell everything fat off grass. We don't supplement feed anything. Calves are sold off cows as supple calves at 7-8 month old, which we use our own bulls on, which is another focus we're going to have on as well, about genetics and that as well too.
On the sheep side, is that mules primarily?
Texel cross mules, but we've started producing. We've become a closed flock since we have separate businesses, and I've started producing my own replacements now. So we've started putting Innovis bred genetics through them to produce our own replacements for maternal genetics and that, and it's working. We've got our first 2 crops of lambs from doing that, and we've got some really nice breeding coming on with them and nice types of sheep.
Early stages going down the Innovis route, but it sounds like you're quite happy with it.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with Laminese and the genetics, the growth rates we're getting from what we're selecting in the genetic traits. So we're just selecting the type of sheep that fit our system. So, and they seem to be working very well. We've got a great batch of year lambs coming on this winter, so we do. So quite excited to see how they turn out next year.
And on the main suckler herd, what does that look like?
We started off with Simlings, which we produced at my brother's farm, but now we've become a closed herd with the cattle side of things as well. So predominantly it's a Simling base, and we alternate between an Angus and a Solaire across them. So my heifers, I calve down a 2-year-old, and I either put an Angus bull or a Solaire bull to them, and then every other cow gets a Charlie bull over it, and we sell all the Charlie calves, 7-8 month old, and all the heifers calves, which are Angus or Solaire, females are retained, and males are kept on till the turn of the year or after that, just to get a bit more weight in them. Works quite well, so it does. And with the cow side of things as well, we were split 60-40 spring and back end calving, and with the Monitor Farm we've decided to go all spring calving as well, so we're in the process of shifting the back end cows to the spring calving, so they're getting pulled back every year. Bulls are going out 2 weeks earlier, and only going out for 6 weeks, so it's every year we're getting pulled back 2-3 weeks, so we should be all spring calving by next spring, so we should.
On the Charlie side of things, you said it was a bit of a hobby at first. It seems to have grown arms and legs. Is that for breeding bulls primarily, or are you showing as well? What's the sort of story there?
Do a bit of both, so I do, but I started off a hobby. I bought my first one when I was 15, just with money I accumulated off doing some other jobs and that, and I've always liked the Charlie, so started when I was 15 and just built them up from there. But in the past 3-4 years, we've been doing really well with them. I've got a good client base for selling bulls locally now, so majority of Charlie cattle we see getting sold through our local mart are usually off of my bulls, which is a really good advert as well. And with our calves, we do really well with our calves, and it shows what I'm trying to produce, so I can show people what I'm producing and the commercial side of it as well, and how well they do as a commercial as well. And showing side of things, we've done a bit of showing the last 2 years too, and we were champion at Highland Show 2 years ago, so that was a big pivotal point in our Charlie enterprise career. So that put our name on the map a bit. So it did. So people seen where we were.
Tell us about the feeling at winning at the Highland Show.
It was a bit surreal. I didn't expect it. It was one of those. We went. Yeah, I had 2 good bulls going, but I didn't expect anything like what happened. We just took them out, and yeah, it was very surreal how it all came to part. With like the amount of cattle that were there, there was 40-50 Charlie cattle there, all the best in the country. And you go there just with your couple of bulls, you're like, this is nice. I just like going, it's a social side we go for. It's good to see everybody and meet up with everybody, but everybody, there's a wee bit of buzz, so there was, and I didn't expect it at all. So it was a nice surprise for us all. So yeah.
I've interviewed a few folk that have had stock at the Highland Show, and what I say to everyone is, getting your sheep or cattle or whatever, goats, donkeys, horses, whatever, sitting at the Highland Show is a credit in itself. Never mind.
Yeah.
Overall championship.
Well, it wasn't even go to the show that year either. I had it all. I wasn't going to show. Like, I wasn't bothered about going, but then it was last minute things that I'll just enter them. So it was a whim. So it was, and it worked out. It was a treat. So it was. So
worthwhile. Transitioning from open to closed herd, Richard, is that a difficult process or quite seamless?
It's quite seamless, but it's you're producing what fits your system. If the stock thrive from as their young stock to where you want them to be, like, we don't push them too hard, and they fit the system, and they know the system as well. If you're buying in stock all the time, you've got to make them fit the system, and if they don't, if the end's got like temperament traits and that as well, you don't like, you just get rid of them. If you're buying in stock, you don't know what they're like either, and it's for the health status as well, for the pedigrees, which is a big thing as well. So we're just trying to enclose everything and produce what fits our system, and it seems to be working quite well. And I quite like, I like genetics and dabbling away with stuff. I like traits and pick what traits I'm needing for the stock, and you see them coming through as well. So it's what I enjoy doing. So it's fitted in really well.
I've asked every monitor farmer we've had on, which I think is 4 now. I'm sure when people check, it's not actually 4. I'm pretty certain it's 4. Why did you originally get involved with the Monitor Farm process? And you're at this process where at this period of time where you're splitting the business. It's probably an extra weight on the shoulders, a bit of extra stuff to be doing. So what was the reason to be getting involved?
As I didn't realise it was going to be such a big commitment before I got into it. We had the opportunity to purchase a farm that we were renting that my brother was in. So we're going through with that, and we're separating. So it was just succession working, and we got this opportunity we couldn't surpass. So we split the business up. But I've been involved with the previous Monitor Farms, going to some of the meetings and that as well, and I just enjoy how you get people in to help you work out the best. I wanted to see what the best system was for here and see if there's any changes that could be done to make it more profitable and more sustainable, just to help pay off the big debts that we were incurring to pay off to the bank with this separation. So I thought it's good, open the doors. I enjoy opening the doors to people and showing them what I do, and I like trying different things. So, and brought me out of my shell a bit as well with discussing stuff and sharing stuff with people. So it's been beneficial, I believe.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about just that because I mean I was in over the summertime last year. I was in last year now, not at the time we recorded. That's very confusing. I was in New Zealand, and I think I said this in a previous episode. One of the things I loved that you sort of sat down, you had your lunch and whatever, and it was you were just having a sandwich, and they brought out the balance sheet and they went through the business and they said this is what works, this is what doesn't work, and that to us in the UK is so surreal, but the sort of Monitor Farm program does encourage that opening up. Is that a challenge or is that quite easy?
That's a challenge for me. I'm not good with figures, and I'm I'd say I'm more of a stockman. I like my stock. I don't like doing paperwork. It's not a fun part of the job, but it's a massive part of the job now. So it is as well. It's part of and you've got to be into the books and into the numbers, and that's why another reason why I joined the Monitor Farm program, to help me get my head in the figures and see. I've got a lot of ideas, but it's just making sense of them and if making the figures stack up with what I'm thinking as well. Usually works out right, so it does when I think, oh, that's a good idea, and then it comes back as we do the sums on it, and that is it. Oh, that's quite a good idea, that, but it's just a feeling. I got feeling's a good thing, so it is.
And even from that fear of putting your information out there, because I don't want to say it can be judgy, but I think folk do look at their neighbours and they sort of, how's my neighbour doing, how's whatever. You're opening up to a group of people about that. Does the Monitor Farm itself and also the people involved in it make that a bit of an easier process than it can be randomly, I guess?
Yeah, the first meeting was very daunting. So it was like just opening the doors and everybody coming in, and you telling everybody what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and where the business is. But everybody's in the same boat when we come to talk about this sort of stuff. It's just being open about it, and it's a great way to like network and communicate with everybody around you. And everybody's got the same issues in that. It's just good to everybody agrees with you, and everybody's like, yeah, they're in the same boat, and yeah, it's worth doing. So it is, and I think a lot of people appreciate it, the honesty behind it. I don't sugarcoat anything or that, and if we have problems, I tell them the problems that we're having. So no, it was daunting to start with, but I'm very open. I probably say too much sometimes, but it's not a bad thing, to be honest.
I've been guilty of that myself, in fairness. But like you say, I actually think it is a good thing. I mean, it's hard to make something better if you don't know what you're working with, And yeah, having that sort of openness is worthwhile. You're sort of sitting at the stage, Richard. You're just sort of entering into the third of 4 years in this program. Could you tell us a bit about? We'll go through the first couple of years, sort of what happened in year one of your time in the program.
Yeah, first year was pretty much we're getting lots of facts and figures, and we were collating all the details, and we did a lot of we mapped the farm for pHs and seeing what we needed on the ground. But previous years before that, I did put a lot of lime on, but we were at a good point to do the mapping, so we could isolate what parts of what fields and stuff we needed to put certain the variable rate lime spreading. So we've done that, and we've got the farm up to a good pH, but we're going to improve on that again in this next year. So it's a lot of pulling together a lot of information and seeing what we were needing to do. And we started the first year as well. We also did the solar water pump as well, which was a big project for us because we had issues with the infrastructure of water for utilising the grass. So we couldn't rotational graze in certain parts of the farm because there wasn't a water supply. And through the summer, we burn up quite badly, and there's the water dries up with us. So that was a great asset for us to utilise more of the grass as well. So that was a good bit of kit we've invested in. So it has.
Could you tell us a bit about that pump, Richard? Because I don't know much about solar water pumps.
Ardo Water that we got down, and he makes them all himself. He's up in Aberdeenshire way, so he is, and it's 2 solar panels with 2 12-volt pumps and batteries on it, and we've got a wee pond, so we do at the bottom of the farm. So it soaks the water up from the pond, filters it, and then it pumps it over a kilometre to a header tank that we had already installed. So it pumps it up there, and then it's gravity fed to all of our water troughs that we've implemented in the last few years as well. So worked really well.
Good. And you said you weren't the biggest paperwork fan. I don't know who is, in fairness.
Yeah.
But a lot more data collection in that year one. Was there anything that sort of came out that you weren't expecting, or was it all in line with sort of where you expected things to be?
No, there was a lot of wee treats and that involved there in that collection side of things. So there was lambing was a big thing that we collected data on that year. So we did a board of death in lambing time. It wasn't a very exciting thing to do, but it was very informative on the reasons of lamb deaths and that in the lambing shed and out with the lambing shed. So we're running at 22% lambing loss, so we were that year, and we isolated it down to watery mouth and joint ill, so it was bacterial based. So with discussions with the vets and Ali, which you'll hear about on the next podcast, we've did a few trials in that in the lambing shed to see where our problems were. So picked up on a few issues, and we're trying to improve on that, and we've got a few things to work on with that. So we do. So that's it's just given us certain areas we need to work on. It's pinpointed what we're needing to work on, so it does. So that was a really good way. But it was a horrible thing to do at lambing time, making this tick boxes in that sewer. But it was very informative for us. So it was.
It's quite a hard hitting name as well.
It was. We couldn't think of a fluffy name for it or a nice name for it, so it was a board of death. So
it's a worthwhile thing. We try do it every year. What often happens is, if you've got a terrible year, it definitely gets fallen by the wayside. But we sort of, I'm certainly guilty of this. Maybe we're not all, but I'm certainly guilty of it in the lambing shed. Let's say even about a watery mouth, for example.
Yeah.
You put things down that maybe aren't watery mouth to watery mouth because you just think everything's going crazy, and that's what. Whereas if you actually sit down and do it case by case, it's quite interesting to see there's a lot more things that you're actually not considering.
Yeah. So it was really interesting. So it was, and it picked up on a few things, like some of the singles were too big as well. Singles, so we had a lot of issue with the lamb and big lambs. So the yows with singles have been cut back on feeding, so they don't get any feeding at all. Which it was minimum anyway what they were getting, but you've got to be quite hard on the singles if they're going to be having big lambs. And the tups that we're using now as well, they're very easy lambing now, so that's helped with that situation as well. And we're selecting yows now. Any issues at lambing time, they go just to a terminal sire instead of maternals now. So we are trying to select sheep that fit the system and easy enough to work themselves as well.
The next episode does go in depth as to what was found, sort of, from a scientific, from a veterinary perspective. And there was a lot of questions in there, Richard, I'll be honest, where I'm like, what does that mean, Ali?
Yeah.
What does that mean, Ali? Or Katie said whatever. But what do you jumped out? You've mentioned there about yows with singles. Was there anything else that jumped out that was something that was really important to you as the farmer?
Cleanliness was a big issue, but it's trying to keep things clean. It was horrendous weather, and trying to keep indoors dry. It was just wind and rain blowing into the sheds, and it was a fighting a losing battle at some point. So it was, but try to keep pens and that as clean as possible, and the tube lambs and that as well, and it was keeping them things clean. The bacteria that Ali came back with her tests on the tubing equipment, and the colostrum that was retained for using on our lambs, the bacteria in them was phenomenal. Like, I didn't realise how bad it was. It was quite shocking, but it's pointed those things out that we need to work on. So we're going to focus on them this year. We're going to have a set routines and set cleaning programs. So that there is a lot of infrastructure in that, like, that we're going to implement, and hopefully we can hit that on the head. And also the feeding side of things as well. Colostrum quality wasn't as good as it could have been, but we started using a TMR halfway through lambing, and it worked a treat. So it did. It was pretty much a game changer for us, just for all the ewes getting a sufficient amount of feeding. But feed space was another issue for this. We had to get all the ewes in with the bad weather. Pens were tight, so we didn't have enough feed space for all the ewes. But this year, we've put up a couple of polytunnels, which has been a 2-year process. We were hoping to have them up for last year, but we just never got round to it. I mean, but we've got them up. They've finally finished going up this week here, so they should be implemented by lambing time this year, which should house about 400 ewes, so they will. So that should help a great deal.
Tunnels are great. They just seem to have the shelter, but also the throughput of wind that prevents disease, like pneumonias and whatnot. The first time I saw a polytunnel, I got the hype to a point, but the more I've worked with them, the more I realise just how successful they are.
Well, we got a good test when we had a big storm there going through us last week, and I was worried they were going to blow away, but they're still there, so we must have put them in the ground properly. So, but they should be a game changer for us. Hopefully, we should be able to house and for mothering pens after lambing, so we can keep them in a lot longer instead of getting them shipped out if the weather's not on our side, which it's not been for the past few years for us. So we've got infrastructure there we can work with now.
I think if we can deal with Storm Dara, it can deal with a fair whack, because that was something else.
There's a fair bit of winds. We lost a couple of sheets off the shed, but the polytunnel stood up to it, so they must have a bit of flex in them to go with the winds for the day. So worked well.
When you're looking at your lambing shed there, or lambing tunnel, Richard, if you've got a problem yow, let's say colostrum, intake, whatever, is there any way you're sort of pinpointing them as a problem yow that you don't plan on having in the future, or what's the sort of thing there?
Well, if they're not coming producing colostrum or not have a lot of milk, they get a tag. They get a mark, so they don't go to the maternal side again. They go terminal. We don't know to pass on those maternal things, but the diet and that is a big part of it. So hopefully we can nail down the diet, and we should have plenty of colostrum this year coming for them. Other thing we've not done this year is we've not topped yow lambs, which was a big thing we've done the past few years. We've got a lot of issues with the yow lambs because they lambing at the end, and a lot of bacteria build up in the pens, and they need more looking after, so they do yow lambs. So we've not topped them this year, which is the first year for many years. I say it every year at lambing time, we're never topping yow lambs again, but when it comes to topping time, they always look that good and big, and like, I'll just top them again. But we've decided to give it a miss this year, and we'll see. We can focus more on the yows and get more live lambs out the yows, which should help balance out not topping the yow lambs, and a lot less issues with yow lambs with mastitis, which was a big issue with us as well. So hopefully we'll have more live lambs in this year coming without topping the yow lambs, which will be a good thing to see if we can actually do that.
The hardest year is always the 1 year, the year one, because you've got that year with a glut of none from either side. But in 2 years' time, that'll be different.
We'll have a great stock. We've got 200, just over 200 yow lambs there running on through the winter, and there'll be some seriously good gimmers come next year to introduce into the flock instead of having the issues with lambing, mastitis. So we can be tighter on them through the winter as well. So it should work out a lot better for us, and a lot easier for the lambing staff as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. Is that all the changes that are put forward for next year? There's been quite a lot of differences there for sure.
Yeah, for the lambing side of things, that's a lot of the changes we're making. Tups went out a bit later, a week later, but they've came in a week earlier. So we've just done 2 cycles with the tups this year. So it'll be a tight lambing again. Majority of the ewes will be lambing within the first 2 weeks. So we'll hopefully have some lambing students to come out and give us a hand as well. And we should get the brunt of them done. Hopefully the weather's on our side there as well. TMR is getting introduced earlier this year. So we should hopefully have a good colostrum with the ewes as well. We're not tubing any lambs this year. Is a big thing we're going to try, just to stop the spread of bacteria and let them all suckle themselves first time and just keep an eye on things. It'll be a bit less work for us as well, and it should will just help us out a bit as well. And they should get up and suckle themselves as well. So just keep an eye on them more, just more checking and keeping things cleaner, hopefully as well.
I have heard the odd person saying that this is probably a contentious one. You know, there's definitely arguments for both sides. We certainly tube at home that, you know, when you are tubing, it's in your head, oh, maybe we should tube, when in truth there's probably a bit of a crossover period there when actually you should push a bit more to get it to suckle straight away, or not straight, instead of going down the tubing route first. It'd be quite interesting to hear how that goes actually. Yeah.
Routine we've done it all the time. We've always tubed lambs as they come into pens to make sure they've got colostrum in the belly, but you're best just leaving them, just let them up suckle themselves. Because if you fill their belly, they're just going to sit there, aren't they? They're not going to get up and get on with it themselves. And the spread of bacteria as well. So no, it's beneficial, so it is. So hopefully it works out well for us this year.
Am I right in saying, so I've been to a few different seminars with different folks speaking at various things about sheep. One of the people that certainly stands out is Poppy Freighter, and I think you've been doing a bit of work with Poppy. Is that right?
Yeah, we've worked with Poppy this year. We've done a bit of grassland management. She's been a great help. So she has been very beneficial for us. So we've done grassland management. So we're planning for rotational. We're going to make up a system for the rotational grazing, help us utilise grass a lot better. We've also done a bit of Farmax as well in the past few months with Poppy to run through some different scenarios to see if we could change things about stocking density, if we could hold more ewes, cow calving times, if we pull everything to spring, if it is more beneficial than having them split. Ewe size was another thing we tried. So there must have been 6 or 7 scenarios we went through with Poppy on Farmax to see what's the best way to go, and just running through different ideas. I've got a lot of ideas going through my head all the time, so kept throwing different ones at her, and she kept running them through the system. Great bit of kit, so it is. So, but it's all figures based, so you've got to be very in tune with the figures and your grass growth and stuff as well to see what you've got on the farm to utilise. But I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'd be very. If I was left to it in my own devices, I don't think I'd get on with it very well. But Poppy's been a great asset to help me run through those ideas I had in my head to put it to pen to paper. So it has been.
You mentioned about sort of paperwork earlier on, Richard, and it's a valuable thing. You know, I think we have a laugh when folks say, oh, I'm not a fan of paperwork, but that's the theme and feeling of a lot of people. So it's an important thing to cover. And how have you found Farmax? Because I think episode 2 with Duncan Morrison was looking at Farmax, and he's sort of really been into that. But it's a new thing for you. How are you finding it? Have you used it much? Is it quite easy to work?
It's Poppy's done all the hard work with it. I've just been throwing the what I've been thinking at her, and the number like sheep numbers, stocking densities, grass growths and stuff. But she puts it all in the machine. I'm not as clued up as Duncan. Duncan likes these figures, and I like to be able to back my judgments with figures, and it makes clarity of some situations. So it does if you've got figures to back what you're thinking. And yeah, I'd like to get more into the figure side of things. I need to. It's a big part of the business, so it is. And if we want to move forward, I need to utilise the facts and figures and management of the farm. So it is. So it's a great bit of kit though, that Farmax. I wish I was more in tune to. Maybe one day I will be, but at this point in my life, it doesn't excite me. I like working with like the stock and breeding and genetics is what excites me. I'd rather get somebody else in who knows facts and figures about that sort of stuff, and utilise them. And that's a great part of the Monitor Farm programme. We can pull in these people, experts in the area of the field that we need to. So it's another benefit of the programme.
I think we sometimes focus on data to the point that, I mean, data is extremely valuable, but we have to keep that stock personship as well.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
agree with that. You've got to enjoy what you do. If you're just chasing the figures and stuff, if you don't enjoy what you're seeing out in the farm and what you're doing, I know what type of stock I like, and I know what type of stock I need to produce, and what traits I'm going for, and what's beneficial to the bottom line. It's just I just put it on paper and that's what I'm doing. But genetic side of things excites me, so it does. Selection process and certain parts that I select for, like especially pedigree side of things. There's certain traits that I go for, and there's certain genetics and breeding, and yeah, it's been a bit of an addiction. So it has since I started the Charlies. I follow all the breeding. I know all the back breeding of things and figure side of things as well. And yeah, that's my bread and butter. So it is.
on the grass side of things, Richard, are you plate measuring? Are you measuring grasses?
No, but we're going to start this year coming. That's something we're going to. So we're going to carry on with the Farmax thing, and I'm going to do some grass measurements to see if the growth curve correlates with what we've got in the Farmax thing. So we'll have certain points in the year we're going to measure the grass and see if it does reflect, because we've been quite conservative on Farmax with the figures for grass growth that we've been putting in. So and with the farm here, like we can grow grass, we should be able to grow up near 10 tons of dry matter. We've set it down at 7 now, but we should be able to push it. I've reduced the fertilizer input the past few years as well, just to improve the pH, invested more in the lime side of things. But now I've got the pHs up to where they need to be. I can put more fertilizer on that will be more utilised a lot better by the ground as well. So I should be able to put on the fertilizer that I was putting on at reduced rate and get the growth rates that I'm needing with the pH being where it needs to be. So it's just working with the environment and the soils. We've got everything, hopefully getting everything where it needs to be now, and we should be firing all cylinders to push the farm forward with the breeding, and the stocking density as well was another thing I want to push. With the debts, we've got big bills to pay in that, and this farm we're going to look at being more intensive. Everybody's going a bit more lower input, but I think if you've got a farm that can grow grass, you should be more intensive. Make it work for you, and if it can grow grass, push it. So you should. Stock's a good trade now, so it is. So it pays to have more stock and density and pushing what you've got. Utilise what you've got there.
I mean, livestock seems to be in a much better spot than crops at the minute. Like it's
yeah, it's good. It's good to see. It's where it needs to be though. It's it's undervalued for what it is. The British beef and lamb industry. So it is. We produce a great product, so we do. So it needs to be. We need to get what it's worth to us and get out of it more. So we're being more appreciated now on the market side of things, but it's just supply and demand that's the issue. There's a lot of people went out of beef, and sheep are reducing as well. So what is there is worth the money as well. So it's not an easy job to be in. So it's not. So we better get paid well for the product we produce.
completely agree, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Especially when we're looking at, we don't know what the case is, but we're looking at certainly a shift in what support is going to be there from a financial perspective. And I think the product we've created from a product itself on the plate perspective, from an animal welfare, from a sustainability, from a biodiversity perspective, is better than just about anywhere. And I don't think we shout about that nearly enough.
I agree with you there 100%. So as we are a very sustainable industry, like the British farming industry, so it is the way you see things around the world as well. They're getting more like factories and that as well, and the amount of chemicals and stuff that we don't use and that other people use, but yeah, we've got a great product here. We need to shout a bit more about it, so we do get appreciated for it more a bit as well. So, it's just trying to. That's another thing with the Monitor Farm. We open the doors for people to come and see what I do and how we do things, and yeah, we're trying to do things to a high standard here. So we do a great product at the end of the day for the consumer. So we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think it's a thing that we, as the producer, as the industry, have to do, because I don't think anyone's going to do it for us. But it's a process to get that, and I think we're going in the right direction. On the Monitor Farm program itself side of things, Richard, I've got a bit of a question. There's every sort of Monitor Farm themselves has like a group surrounding them, the sort of management group. Tell us about how that works, because that's one thing that really interests me. It's almost like a little sort of support bubble, if you will, that's sort of there to bounce off each other. And do you go and see them as well? How does that all work?
Yeah, we've got a management group. So there's a group of, I'm sure it's about 12 or 13 of us. So there is. We get together every few months. So we do have discussions, and we do visit each other's farms, which is a great part of the process as well. So we're going around. So it lets us understand each other a lot better and see what we're trying to do at everybody's farm. So I think we've been majority of everybody's farm now. So you go around, we go see what they're doing, have a talk through why they're doing it, what they're doing. So it just makes people think, and it's a good way to connect. And we all discuss everything. So we bounce ideas off each other. We're like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Or why don't you try this? So it's not just about my farm. It's about the management group. We're here to support each other, and we're here to help each other out with ideas. So if anybody's got any ideas or thoughts on stuff, we've got a WhatsApp group there. We just bounce ideas off each other as well. And yeah, if somebody's tried something, just get advice off. Like, we're quite a diverse group, and it's a good community. So it is the management group for us. So yeah, we've got a lot of different things coming out of it. So we do. So it's a great part of the Monitor Farm program. So it's having that group of people.
And do you just make a point of visiting one of yourselves every set amount of time, or is that just sort of happened by accident?
We meet up. We usually go one farm in the morning, go for lunch, and go to somebody else's in the afternoon. So we do. So we try, and I think we've still got. I'm sure there's a couple of farms we've still got to go around. So, but yeah, it's just a great way. It's a good way to go off the farm as well. Like, go and visit. I love going and see what other people do. It's a great way to pick up ideas, and I always pick up something from somebody else's farm, and it's a great way to learn stuff and see how they're doing things, and little things as well. If you just pick up one idea from somebody, it's well worth going just for the day. And just the way everybody's got a different way of doing things as well. Everybody's got a different way of thinking. So no, it's good.
And I also think when it's not your place being looked at, you almost go with a different hat on, a different perspective.
Different mindset, so it is, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
But it's when people, like, you don't realise that it's like when people come here as well. I'm in my own little bubble here. They're like, why are you doing that? What are you doing this for? I'm like, oh, that wouldn't this be easier? It's like, that probably would be easier, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's a good idea. So, but you do, it's good to get out of your own little bubble and just go see different ways of thinking. Everybody's got their own ideas and their own way of doing things. So no, it's very, yeah, it's a great part of the program. So it is.
We speak about that at home quite often. I think ever since I was 9 and I'm 27, we have had someone working at lambing time, learning whatever, and those people can know literally nothing about farming. They just want to try it. And Mum says that every year that they'll ask a question. They might be 15 and have never seen a sheep before, and you're like, I don't know. Let me look into that. And it's because you get into your way of doing things and it works and it's fine. But over time,
we've always done it. It's that saying. It's the way we've always done it. And
exactly.
You've got to get out of that way of thinking. You've got to think of why we've always done that. And it's one of those sayings that you hear in farm a lot. We've always done that. It's like, yeah, but you can change though. There's a lot of, you can adapt. There's not one certain way of doing things. You can always change the way you do things slightly to make it a lot easier on yourself. It's a good saying that, like, when people say it, it's like, that's not right though. It's the way you've always done it. You're a bit stuck in the past with that one. You need to you need to move on and adapt your system. There's changes to be made everywhere, so there's tweaks to be made and everything. It's an exciting bit about farming. There's no one way of doing things. Everybody's got their own way. You've got to try different. I like trying different things. It gets boring if you just keep doing the same thing all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. On looking at the sort of, I guess, time period of your involvement, Richard, as we said, you're just entering into the third year of 4 years. What's sort of on the cards for the next 2 years?
Next 2 years, we've done a lot of focus on the sheep, so we have in the past two. So this year coming, we're going to focus on cattle side of things a bit more. Genetics, which is a big thing I enjoy doing. So we're going to focus more on the genetic side of cattle, about selection, bull traits, myostatins, and then we're going to focus on calf growth rates as well. With the way I do things with the supple calves, sell them straight off the cow, with the growth rates and how we've been doing through the summer, and if it's beneficial to push them harder, or we are at the point where we are doing enough. Because currently we creep for 6 weeks, so we do pre-sales. Would it be worth pushing them a bit longer, put those creeps out a bit longer to get more weight in them, to be more income? And we're going to see if it is worthwhile keeping the calves through the winter instead of selling them all as young. So there's different things we're going to focus on with the cattle side of stuff as well. And with moving all to spring as well, we should hopefully be able to see how much more beneficial that is for the beef side of things as well, instead of having the back end calvers too.
It's a big shift moving to spring. I mean, I think once it's done, it'll be easy, but
yeah.
that happening is
yeah.
quite challenging.
Past few years we were calving all summer, so we start calving in March and we finish calving in August. So it hits the shows, so it does. So I like going to the shows, but we seem to be calving all summer. So last year we'll say, I didn't do any shows at all. So just with the calving side of things, and with our third baby due, so we had Mitch was born as well when Highland Show was. So I was like, I'll just have a year off this year. So it all fell into place. So it did. So no, it's hopefully once we get to them all pushed back to spring, we should be firing all cylinders by then. Hopefully, a lot easier.
You have saved Mitch some money on beer when his 18th and 19th and 20th and 21st birthdays come at the Highland Show, that's for sure.
Oh, I know. A good week though, so.
What was we kind of touched on this, but I didn't fully sort of delve into it. What was the original reason for, right, we're going to go fully spring?
It's just the cost through the winter. So we're pushing the calves through. We start, our back end calving used to start mid-August, so it did. And then went on for 6 weeks, so it was. So by September, and then we brought them in the shed from November. And it's just the health issues and that you get in the shed with all the young calves, the vaccinations, and then feeding the calves, because we usually run them through the winter and we sell them straight off the cow come April. The big thing as well is it's going to be the cash flow thing as well, because that was a good point of cash flow coming in at that point of the year as well. Instead of if we're going spring calving, we've got spring lambing. So it's going to be a good gauge to see how we, with the grass growth as well, if we're going to utilise the grass, because everyone's going to be calving lamb at the same time. So, and then our cash flow, we're going to be getting majority of our cash flow in the back end now, instead of having it spread out over the winter, having the calves in April to sell as well. So it's going to be a good year, this transition, to see if it is more beneficial for us. But I'm hoping it is. With pen to paper, and it says it is. So, and it should make life a lot easier. Just get the calving all done with at one time a year as well. Just work with it. We're working with the seasons as well, so the grass should be there. It's been funny summers the last few years as well. So the grass isn't growing as well as it should. But when it grows grass here, we can grow grass for fun. So we just need to utilise it a lot better. So yeah, no, it should hopefully work out as well.
And maybe you're not at this stage, but finished Monitor Farm programme, you're 4 years done. What do you think will be happening then?
I have a few beers. Well, we just work on from the process. Hopefully, we'll get everything nailed down, and we know the system that we want to work. I've this past 4 years, I've just been throwing ideas out and pulling at ideas, pulling at people to see, can we try this, can we do that? So I'm trying as much as I can now to see what fits and what I enjoy. So hopefully by the end of this program, I know how the system works and what system works, and we're firing all cylinders here. And yeah, we're enjoying it, and it works, and it's easier. Trying to make an easier life as well. It seems we're constant. If we're trying to make a system that works better for us, it's just trying to fit in, especially with a young family as well. We need to find time for the family too. So they're only young ones. So if I spend all my time out in the farm working now, if we get a system that gives us a bit more time and working with the seasons instead of just working all the time, it would make life a lot easier and simpler as well. Try and make a system that's simple. That's a goal.
I think we sometimes are guilty of forgetting that family thing, especially in past farming generations.
Yeah,
it is important. It is very important.
It is part of it. So it is.
Someone, what did they say? What was it they said? Someone told me a good quote on this. It's going to get very deep for a second. The only person that remembers the late nights you done is your kids. And it's so true. Like, I know you're not working for someone, Richard, but like, instead of, a boss being the boss, you're the boss type thing. It's a true sort of thing. But here it's been a pleasure to chat. It's been great to sort of cover all the things you're doing with the Monitor Farm and what the plans are for the farm as well.
No, it's been good to speak to you as well. That's been very intuitive. I said a lot, said a lot more than I thought I would say. So it's been good.
That's the point of the podcast. A lot of folks say they're like, "Oh God, I don't want to say too much" type thing. But no, it's been a joy. That's the point of a podcast, is to hear what you've got to say, hear what the plans are. Yeah, I guess for those of you listening, the theme, as we said, was looking at sort of planning for success, and a lot of the things we've covered there have been, well, what's the plan for the next part? And it looks like that's just going to grow year on year. And if you want to hear the second stage of this, or maybe even the first stage in some ways, Richard's sort of talking about how it's working on the farm, what his sort of take on everything is from the production perspective. If you want to hear from the vet and the lab side of things with Katie and Ali, that'll be the next episode of the Monitor Farm podcast. The last episode we had was with Robert Wilson, the Roxburgh monitor farmer, who was sort of looking at that sustainability stroke productivity sweet spot, and where that was, what was the best point for getting the absolute best out of the land. Today, as I said, we've been looking at planning and how that can help for the future. And that has been Field Talk, the Scottish Monitor Farm podcast episode today. Thank you very much for listening, and we shall see you for the next one. See you then.
Thanks for tuning in to the Monitor Farm Scotland podcast. Don't forget to click subscribe wherever you get your podcast from for more episodes as we continue to dive into the stories from our monitor farms. If you want to stay updated with our latest news and events, please visit the Monitor Farm Scotland website and follow us on social media for more updates and keep in the know about what our farms are getting up to. Monitor Farm Scotland is funded by Scottish Government and managed by Quality Meat Scotland and AHDB.